This is Mamuni. Thank you so much for being Amar Baba Ma. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. The Central Board of Direct Taxes, that is CBDT, has officially released the ITR 3 form for assessment year 2025-26 through notification number 41 oblique 2025 dated 30th April 2025. The updated ITR 3 form applies to individuals and Hindu undivided families, that is HUFS, earning income from profits and gains of business or professionals like doctors, lawyers, freelancers, consultants, etc. This move comes in alignment with the amendments introduced via the Finance Act 2024 and aims to bring greater clarity, compliance, and transparency for taxpayers of India. The ITR 3 form is used for reporting income earned for the financial year 2024-25. Now, you must be wondering what are the major changes or key changes have been introduced in the updated ITR 3 form by the Income Tax Department, right? No worries. In this video, I am going to tell you about all the major changes in new ITR 3 form in simple language. So, let's get started. Number 1. Capital gains split based on date. A major update is the split in the schedule capital gains requiring taxpayers of India to report gains separately for transactions before 23rd July 2024 and after 23rd July 2024, that is Union Budget 2024. Now, you must be wondering why are the taxpayers required to report gains separately in ITR 3 for transactions before and after 23rd July 2024, right? Because Budget 2024 changed the taxation rules. Budget 2024 announced new capital gains rules effective from 23rd July 2024. So, if you have made capital gains by selling listed or unlisted equity shares, equity mutual funds, houses, land, or any other capital asset, then the date of sale is very important to calculate the correct capital gains amount and the appropriate tax on it. So, the taxpayers should check the date of sale and transfer of the capital asset to know whether the tax will be calculated based on the old rules, that is before 23rd July 2024, or new rules, that is after 23rd July 2024. If the date of sale and transfer of the capital asset is after 23rd July 2024, the new tax rules will apply. A. Long-term capital gains, that is LTCG, tax at 12.5% under section 112A on gains exceeding rupees 1.25 lakh or rupees 1,25,000 in a financial year from listed equity shares or equity oriented mutual funds, etc., held for more than a year. Please note, a single tax rate of 12.5% irrespective of the class of asset and the withdrawal of indexation benefit regarding long-term capital gains except for land and buildings acquired before 23rd July by resident individuals or Hindu undivided families, that is HUFS. V. For immovable property, that is land or building, the indexation benefit which adjusted the cost of assets for inflation is withdrawn except for land or buildings acquired before 23rd July 2024 and transferred or sold on or after 23rd July 2024 by resident individuals or Hindu undivided families, that is HUFS taxpayers, now have the option to pay tax at the lower of the two options. Option 1, 20% on the capital gains with indexation, or option 2, 12.5% on the capital gains without indexation. C. Short-term capital gains, that is STCG, taxed at 20% under section 111A on gains arises from the sale of listed equity shares, equity oriented mutual funds, etc., held for less than 1 year. Now, if the date of sale and transfer of the capital asset is before 23rd July 2024, the old tax rules will continue to apply. A. Long-term capital gains, that is LTCG, taxed at 10% under section 112A on gains exceeding rupees 1 lakh in a financial year from listed equity shares or equity oriented mutual funds, etc. B. Short-term capital gains, that is STCG, taxed at 15% under section 111A on gains arising from the sale of listed equity shares, equity oriented mutual funds, etc. Please note, in the budget 2024, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman increased the exemption limit on long-term capital gains for listed equity shares and mutual funds to rupees 1,25,000 from rupees 1 lakh under section 112A. The Union Finance Minister has also revised holding periods. The Union Budget 2024 has also changed the holding periods required for different asset types. Before Budget 2024, the holding periods varied between 12 months, 24 months and 36 months. After Budget 2024, only two holding periods are relevant. 12 months and 24 months are applicable to all financial and non-financial assets. This simplifies the taxation process and provides clarity to investors and taxpayers regarding asset retention. So, a big change now in the ITR filing 2025. Please note, in the Union Budget 2025, no changes were made to the tax rates or holding periods for long-term capital gains or short-term capital gains. C. Separate reporting for capital gains from unlisted bonds and debentures. Budget 2024 changed the taxation rules for unlisted bonds and debentures. The new rules are effective from 23rd July 2024. Experts say, according to the new rules, if unlisted debentures or bonds were issued on or before 22nd July 2024 but redeemed or matured or transferred on or after 23rd July 2024, the entire gain will be taxed as short-term capital gains regardless of the holding period. As per the new rules, the gains will be taxed at the income tax slab rates applicable to your income. However, if the maturity or redemption or transfer occurs before 23rd July 2024, the resulting gain will be classified as long-term capital gain and taxable according to the old rules. Under the old rules, the gains will be taxed at 20% with indexation benefit. The reporting of capital gains from unlisted bonds and debentures has to be done in ITR 2, ITR 3 or ITR 5 as applicable. I hope now you have understood why the taxpayers will have to report the capital gains separately for transactions made before 23rd July 2024 and after 23rd July 2024 in ITR 3 for assessment year 2025-26. Number 2. Reporting of buyback proceeds as deemed dividends. From 1st October 2024, proceeds received from the buyback of shares by domestic listed companies are to be treated as deemed dividends. The updated ITR 3 form requires these proceeds to be reported under income from other sources. In other words, effective from 1st October 2024, the tax treatment of share buybacks will change. The proceeds from share buybacks will now be considered dividend income. This means shareholders will be subject to income tax on the amount they receive from the buyback according to their applicable tax slab. Importantly, there will be no tax deduction allowed for the cost of acquiring the shares that were bought back. Now, you must be wondering, how does the new tax treatment differ from the previous tax treatment, right? Under the previous tax regime, companies were liable to pay a special tax on share buybacks under Section 115QA of the Income Tax Act 1961. To prevent double taxation, the income received by shareholders from such buybacks was exempt from tax under Section 10(3)(4)(a). So the new rule shifts the tax burden from the companies to the shareholders. Understood? Now you might ask, what are the tax implications for shareholders after 1st October? Well, under the new rule, shareholders must declare the proceeds from share buybacks as part of their total income. This income will then be taxed at the applicable income tax slab rate. This change is intended to make the tax treatment of share buybacks consistent with the taxation of dividends. A question might arise, are there any exceptions to this rule? Well, the new tax treatment applies to all buybacks conducted on or after 1st October 2024. There are no specific exceptions mentioned. So, from 1st October 2024, capital losses incurred on share buybacks will be allowed provided that the corresponding dividend income is reported under income from other sources. Number 3. Enhanced disclosure for deductions reporting. The new ITR 3 format mandates detailed disclosure of deductions claims under Section 80C, which includes life insurance premium, PPF, NSC, etc., and Section 10(13)(a) house rent allowance, that is HRA. This measure is aimed at ensuring more accurate reporting and reducing the scope for incorrect claims. Deductions for education or home loans require lender details, loan account numbers, and sanction dates. Even if you are claiming a deduction for buying an electric vehicle under Section 80 EEB, you will now have to disclose the vehicle's registration number. You should also double check your house rent allowance, that is HRA details, while filing your ITR. The key documents needed for ITR filing 2025 under the old tax regime to claim house rent allowance or HRA exemption are as follows. A. Salary slip with HRA breakup. B. Rent receipts or rent agreement. C. PAN of landlord in case of annual rent exceeding rupees 1 lakh. Else, you may lose out on the HRA exemption. D. Form 12BB. E. Bank payment proof for rent. In order to file ITR 2025 under the old tax regime, a separate HRA schedule, that is, new requirement for assessment year 2025-26 and financial year 2024-25 must be filled now. Failing in doing so may not allow HRA exemption even if the rent is paid. How to calculate house rent allowance, that is HRA exemption? The lowest of the following amounts can be claimed as HRA exemption under Section 10(13)(a). A. Actual HRA received. B. 50% of basic salary plus DA for those living in metro cities, that is Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai or Chennai. C. 40% of basic salary plus DA for those living in non-metros. D. Actual rent paid minus 10% of basic salary plus DA. So, salary taxpayers opting for the old tax regime must now follow a revised ITR filing process for assessment year 2025-26, financial year 2024-25. Merely using Form 16 won't be enough. Now taxpayers will need to upload proofs, that is documents for deductions claimed under sections like 80C, 80D and HRA. For example, if you are claiming benefits under section 80C such as for insurance premium, equity linked savings schemes, that is ELSS, or investment in public provident fund, that is PPF, you will need to provide document IDs or policy numbers. If you have taken health insurance and want to claim Section 80D, the insurer's name and policy number have to be mentioned. This is mandatory. So, now every claim needs to be supported by proof, that is documents. Number 4. Mandatory TDS section code reporting in Schedule TDS. Taxpayers of India will now be required to mention the specific TDS section code, for example 194A, 194C, 194H, etc. in Schedule TDS section of the ITR 3 form. This aims to improve reconciliation between Form 26 AS or Annual Information Statement, that is AIS, and the TDS or TCS schedules in the return. Number 5. New section 44 BBC. A new presumptive taxation scheme under section 44 BBC has been introduced specifically for business engaged in the cruise tourism sector in the ITR 3 form. Eligible assessors can now opt for presumptive taxation under this section, which simplifies income tax return filing and reduces compliance requirements for small cruise operators. Number 6. Assets and liabilities reporting threshold, that is limit, increased. The CBDT has revised the reporting threshold, that is limit, for foreign assets and liabilities in the ITR 3 form. Taxpayers with total income exceeding rupees 1 crore will now be required to disclose their assets and liabilities in Schedule AL. So, the monetary limit for reporting assets and liabilities under Schedule AL has increased from rupees 50 lakh to rupees 1 crore for assessment year 2025-26. The increased reporting limit aims to bring transparency for higher income individuals and reducing the compliance burden on smaller taxpayers. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your precious time. I sincerely hope this was helpful.